Chapter 2241 Gathering the Assistants. He quickly contacted the experts from the ancient past. One would expect Old Monster to be able to contact even more powerful experts given how powerful he was. In reality, many of the experts with similar fighting power to Old Monster Jiao escaped out of this heaven and earth when they realized something was amiss. Only a small number of people were stuck there and fell into slumber as they had an escape in time. The number of experts at his level was already small, much less the number of experts at his level and awakened. This resulted in Old Monster Jiao finding it difficult to find experts to help him in his cause. Hence, he could only command his subordinate, Chu He, to contact the experts in the divine demon realm. Eternal Chaotic World, Purple Moon Sanctuary. There was an auction going on within a large town. This auction was of a very high level and hence it attracted numerous experts, including several almighties who came down personally. A man and a teenage girl were sat within one of the independent rooms. The lazy man wore a long robe and looked down every now and then at the items that were being auctioned with interest. As for the dirty teenage girl in green clothes, she was eating some fruits and did not bother looking down at the auction at all. Senior brother. The restrictions of heaven and earth are so strong and the spiritual influence of heaven and earth is so thin. This auction is also not of the highest standard. There shouldn't be anything good here. I have no idea why you decided to come here, the teenage girl in green clothes complained. Ha ha, junior sister. You do not understand. There might not be anything good in this era. However, the people of this place protect the ancient battlefield. On that battlefield, countless experts died. There are almost unlimited amounts of treasures and opportunities there. Many of those treasures were found and have circulated around in this world. If we look carefully, we might find some precious treasures which we, as experts in the divine demon realm, would normally have no way of attaining, the lazy man said. Even so, have you found any of the precious treasures you have been talking about? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes retorted. For now, no. Looks like you are right. These auctions are of too low a level. The truly precious treasures should be in the hands of the top-tier experts of this era. For example, Sanctuary Alliance, the lazy man said. Sanctuary Alliance? Senior brother, you are going to try something funny against the Sanctuary Alliance? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes looked over and asked. The lazy man laughed awkwardly. Both of them had been awake for a period of time. They had a certain amount of understanding of this era. They know that Sanctuary Alliance had two very powerful experts, Sword Emperor and Emperor Bai. With the presence of the restrictions of heaven and earth, the pair did not dare to try anything funny with them. Right then. Ha! The lazy man was stunned before he stood up suddenly. What happened, senior brother? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes asked curiously. Ha ha, junior sister. Remember when I said I wouldn't dare to fight the Sanctuary Alliance? That would indeed be true if it was just the two of us. However, things have changed, the lazy man roared with laughter. What do you mean? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes wondered aloud. One of my good friends just transmitted me a message. Lord Jiao's ride was killed by Emperor Bai from Sanctuary Alliance. Lord Jiao is very angry and is trying to gather experts in the divine demon realm to take revenge on Emperor Bai, the lazy man said. Lord Jiao? You mean the Lord Jiao from the Holy Land? The dirty teenage girl in green clothes was stunned. That is him. He is rewarding those who help him with a divine demon nirvana elixir after they return to the absolute beginning divine world. The lazy man's eyes lit up in excitement. Divine demon nirvana elixir? The dirty girl in green clothes was overjoyed. The divine demon nirvana elixir was something experts in the divine demon realm would go crazy for. Junior sister, let's go. We should hurry. We cannot miss such a good opportunity, the lazy man said. Okari, the dirty teenage girl in green clothes nodded her head. The two of them headed for where Lord Jiao was at the fastest speed possible. A purple figure stood in the air above a vast ocean within the colored glaze sanctuary. He wore a noble purple long-sleeved shirt. His hair and his irises were purple as well. He was walking within the area casually. Suddenly, he stopped as he was surprised. Old Monster Jiao asked me to help him? If I don't, he will use whatever power he has back in the absolute beginning divine world to try and kill me after we return? Humph. Based on the fact he was stronger than me back then and he came from a holy land, he looked down on me. Now he is asking me to help him by threatening me? The purple figure knitted his eyebrows and said. This purple figure was Xianxia. Someone was above the divine demon realm. Xianxia was disgusted by old monster Jiao. However, he feared old monster Jiao as he had an incredible background. Even though he threatened me, he knows his limits. He promised me a favor, and his favor. Xianxia started contemplating. It was not because old monster Jiao was more powerful than him. More importantly, it was because of his background in the Holy Land. It would have been difficult to get a favor from someone like him in the absolute beginning divine world. Now, never mind. I will first check it out. If his attitude is better, I do not mind helping him. However, if he is still so cocky, I will not bother with him. Does he really think it is so easy to kill me back in the absolute beginning divine world? Xianxia grunted as he left for where old monster Jiao was. It was not just Xianxia and the two siblings who were at the auction. Many experts from the ancient past who had awakened received invitations from old monster Jiao. They had to help him do something in exchange for one divine demon nirvana elixir. Many of them were in or at the price old monster Jiao was willing to pay. Many of them replied and headed to where old monster Jiao was. Within 3 years, more than 20 experts from the ancient past gathered at the mountain dwelling where old monster Jiao resided. Within the dwelling, there were more than 20 experts in the realm of divine demons. Some of them knew each other, while others didn't. Even so, they were chatting casually. Even though there were differences between their fighting power, they were in the same realm. Furthermore, they were all trapped within this heaven and earth and were under its restrictions. Hence, they did not put up a front when interacting with each other. Chapter 2242 Body of Undying. Ha ha. There are so many people. Looks like the divine demon nirvana elixir is very attractive as a reward, that is true. It is Lord Jiao. Those who come from the Holy Land do things differently to others. The 20 or so experts in the divine demon realm talked casually. When they reached their destination, they already knew what they needed to do. Right then, a man with purple hair in purple clothes appeared within the mountain dwelling. When this man appeared, he attracted the attention of all the experts in the divine demon realm. Even though they were under the restrictions of heaven and earth, the experts in the divine demon realm could tell that the purple-haired man had an aura that surpassed that of the divine demon. Xianxia, it is Lord Xianxia. Lord Xianxia is here. Some of the experts in the divine demon realm recognized Xianxia and greeted him respectfully. Xianxia scanned the experts in the divine demon realm coldly, not saying a word. Within moments, old monster Jiao appeared in front of everyone wearing black armor. Lord Jiao. Greetings, Lord Jiao. The experts in the divine demon realm greeted him respectfully. Xianxia greeted as well as he did not dare to be arrogant. He just did it less respectfully. Are all those that you invited here? Old monster Jiao scanned around the room and asked. Yes, my lord. Those who agreed to help are all here. There are a total of 23 experts in the divine demon realm, and the addition of Lord Xianxia. Old monster Jiao nodded his head slightly. 23 experts in the divine demon realm. Some of them were stronger than the rest. Those who were more powerful had the fighting power of a peak stage 3 great emperor, while those weaker only had the fighting power of an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. Even though it was only at the level of an ordinary stage 3 great emperor, it was still at the level of a stage 3 great emperor. Within the eternal chaotic world, there were only 2 stage 3 great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance, Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. Now they had 23 experts with the fighting power at least that of a stage 3 great emperor. It made 24 including Chu He. On top of this, old monster Jiao and Xianxia had both been more powerful than any divine demon during their primes. Under the restrictions of heaven and earth, they had the fighting power of an expert in the half-step divine demon realm. This lineup was considered terrifying. Xianxia, thank you for coming. I will remember this favor. Old monster Jiao looked at Xianxia and said. Xianxia nodded his head slightly, not speaking. As for the rest of you, since I have already promised all of you, I will live up to my promise and give all of you one divine demon nirvana elixir after we return to the absolute beginning divine world. The experts were overjoyed. They knew of old Monster Jiao's background and believed that he would live up to his promise. All right, let's talk about the mission. Everyone here should know that my target this time is Emperor Bai. He killed my ride. He must die. Old Monster Jiao said extremely coldly. The experts present raised their eyebrows. Sir Jiao, Chen Qi said suddenly. The experts in the divine demon realm would refer to old Monster Jiao as Lord. Only Chen Qi would call him Sir, as they were of the same realm. I was informed about what you wanted us to do when I arrived here. I think it is not possible to kill Emperor Bai as a way to take revenge for your ride, Chen Qi said. Ha! Chen Qi, what do you mean by that? Old Monster Jiao's face turned dark as he questioned Chen Qi fiercely. Sir Jiao, I'm not trying to anger you. However, what I said is the truth. Chen Qi looked directly at old Monster Jiao, not backing down from the fierce stare. He continued, Sir Jiao has been awake for a short period of time and has explored this world for some time. How good is your understanding of the top-tier experts in this era? I have limited understanding of them, old Monster Jiao said. He was speaking the truth. Ever since he had left the Buddhist Demon Sea, he had started to explore the eternal chaotic world and had some understanding of the top-tier experts in this era. He knew of Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. He also knew that they had incredible fighting power. However, he had not looked into what realm they were in or how strong they really were. This was why he looked down on Emperor Bai and had suffered losses. Sir Jiao, you do not know how strong they are, but I do. I did thorough research on every single top-tier expert, Chen Qi said slowly. Let's talk about Emperor Bai first. He is extremely powerful and is unanimously considered the most powerful man in this era and is unbeatable in this world. I am sure you will agree with this since you have fought him before. Old Monster Jiao face darkened. After fighting Emperor Bai, he had a certain understanding of how powerful he was. Just like Chen Qi said, old Monster Jiao knew that he was no match for Emperor Bai. I cannot beat him one-on-one. This is exactly why I am willing to pay such a heavy price to ask all of you to help me. If we work together, we can kill him, old Monster Jiao said. There is one more point that Sir Jiao should know. Emperor Bai is not only powerful, he is also an inverse cultivator. Inverse cultivation is a unique way of cultivating and is vastly different from the normal way of cultivation. Chen Qi shook his head and said, Emperor Bai is so powerful because of inverse cultivation. His power is not limited by the restrictions of heaven and earth. Furthermore, inverse cultivators have unique abilities. One of them is the body of undying. What? Old Monster Jiao's face turned dark. All the experts in the divine demon realm looked over at Chen Qi in surprise. Body of undying? You mean that body of undying that only undying saint has? Old Monster Jiao stared at Chen Qi and asked. That is right. There might be differences in the body of undying between an undying saint and an inverse cultivator, but it would not be a big difference. From what I know, Emperor Bai was once under the effect of opposing blood formation and was killed by the Blood Emperor, who could use the power belonging to the divine demon realm. After Emperor Bai's divine body was destroyed and annihilated, he regenerated his divine body within moments. Chen Qi nodded his head solemnly and said, He regenerated his divine body even after you completely destroyed it. Is this the body of undying? After hearing what Chen Qi had said, old Monster Jiao fell silent. Chapter 2243 Fear. This indeed was the body of undying, to be able to regenerate a destroyed body almost immediately with no effects on his fighting power. Body of undying. As an expert from the ancient past, old Monster Jiao clearly knew how terrifying the body of undying was. This was why the undying saints could do whatever they wanted within the absolute beginning divine world. Old Monster Jiao had not expected Emperor Bai, as someone in the chaotic realm, to possess the body of undying. How is this possible? Old Monster Jiao cried out. Sir Jiao, I understand that it is difficult to believe what I just said. However, this is a fact. I have the project image with me, Chen Qi said as he whipped out a project image token. During the battle between Emperor Bai and Blood Emperor, all of the Almighties from the eternal chaotic world had been there watching the fight. They had used a project image token to record the battle. After the war, these project images had started to become widespread within the eternal chaotic world. Xianxia had obtained one easily. As the project image appeared in front of everyone, the experts in the divine demon realm and old monster Jiao saw how Emperor Bai's divine body was first destroyed, then regenerated almost instantly with their own eyes. Indeed, that is body of undying. Old monster Jiao clenched his fist and said. His face was dark. Body of undying. An expert in the chaotic realm possessed the body of undying? I am sure that everyone here knows how scary the body of undying can be. On top of this, Emperor Bai has incredible fighting power. Given how we can only have fighting power limited to the chaotic realm, he is basically invincible. Xianxia continued solemnly. This means that it is impossible to kill him even if we work with each other. We can only defeat him. Hearing this, old monster Jiao trembled. He had to admit Xianxia was speaking the truth. With that level of fighting power, and with the body of undying, it was true that killing him was a dream. Humph. Even if I can't kill him, I want him to pay 10 times, or even 100 times the price. I will destroy Sanctuary Alliance and kill everyone around him. Old monster Jiao roared with anger. That is feasible. Other than Emperor Bai, the other people within Sanctuary Alliance and the people of this era were generally weak and we do not need to be afraid. However, there are still things we need to look out for, Xianxia said. First, we need to watch out for the Sword Emperor. From the intel I have, the Sword Emperor only has the fighting power of an ordinary Stage 3 Great Emperor. Any one of the experts in the divine demon realm here can stop him and defeat him. However, he has incredible techniques and trump cards. The reason why the Blood Emperor lost 20,000 over years ago was because the Sword Emperor cast an incredible secret skill which boosted his fighting power. He also had a treasure which he used to kill the Blood Emperor. I think that the Sword Emperor can only use these techniques at a great cost. I wonder if he can still use them. We just need to be more cautious. Once he casts the secret skill, it is in our best interests to temporarily retreat to avoid him at his strongest. We can attack again at a later time, Xianxia said. Hearing this, the surrounding people nodded their heads. Everyone had to take the Sword Emperor seriously as he could kill the Blood Emperor, who could use the power of the divine demon realm once he used his secret skill. They should avoid the Sword Emperor when he cast the secret skill. On top of this, we should be extra cautious of one more man, Xianxia continued. Extra cautious? Who? Old monster Jiao looked over and asked. Emperor 13. When Xianxia said this name, it was evident that his voice was different. Old monster Jiao's irises contracted. As for the experts in the divine demon realm, they were all stunned and confused. Lord Xianxia, who is Emperor 13? Is he a greater threat than Emperor Bai and the Sword Emperor? One of the experts in the divine demon realm asked. These experts in the divine demon realms would have been mere pawns back in the ancient battlefield. They had no idea of what happened at the higher levels. They didn't know the really powerful people like Emperor 13. Of course. Compared to Emperor 13, Emperor Bai and the Sword Emperor are nothing. After all, these two are cultivators of this era. We only need to take them seriously because of the presence of the restrictions of heaven and earth. However, Emperor 13 is different. He is like us. He came from the absolute beginning divine world. Xianxia said. So what? That expert in the divine demon realm was still confused. All of them came from the absolute beginning divine world. Why should they be extra cautious? Ha ha. Xianxia had a weird laugh and looked at that expert mockingly. Xianxia. Is that Emperor 13 from 7-Star Black Sect, the leader of 7 stars and the one who challenged and injured the Master of Holy Land in a one-on-one fight? Old monster Jiao looked over at Xianxia and asked. Yes, that is him. Xianxia nodded his head. Old monster Jiao's heart skipped a beat. The other experts in the divine demon realm took a cold breath. Challenge the Master of Holy Land in a one-on-one fight? And injure him in the fight? Oh my God. Emperor 13 is such a terrifying being. 7-Star Black Sect? There are people from the 7-Star Black Sect who survived? And his power level is similar to that of the Master of Holy Land? These experts in the divine demon realm were trembling in fear. Experts in the divine demon realm were superpowers in this era. However, they were nothing back in the ancient past. Back in the ancient past, these people were mere pawns in the battlefield of the highest level. However, Master of Holy Land. He had been one of the strongest men back in the absolute beginning divine world. To these experts, an undying saint was already considered a superpower that they would kneel down to. Master of the Holy Land? That man was even more powerful. After they discovered Emperor 13's true power and identity, these experts fell silent. Those who had thought Emperor 13 was nothing previously were now fearful. Who dared to look down on someone who was comparable to the Master of Holy Land? That person would be a joke. Emperor 13 awakened a very long time ago, much earlier than me. He was one of the main reasons why the Blood Emperor lost back in the great battle 20,000 years ago. From my sources, Emperor 13 is not part of the Sanctuary Alliance. The reason why he helped out back then was because of the Sword Emperor. This means that Emperor 13 should not appear if we do not threaten the life of the Sword Emperor, Xianxia said. 2244 Direct attack. After going back and forth for some time, Old Monster Jiao finally made his decision. The main focus of this mission is just Sanctuary Alliance. We will kill the experts within Sanctuary Alliance other than the Sword Emperor. As for Emperor Bai, if we can kill him, we will. If not, let him have a taste of how it feels to lose a loved one or a good friend, Old Monster Jiao said coldly. Yes, the experts in the divine demon realm who were present nodded their heads. Let's go. We will head straight for Sanctuary Alliance's headquarters. Old Monster Jiao and Xianxia led 20 over experts in the divine demon realm towards the headquarters of Sanctuary Alliance. Thunderbolt Island. The place with the best cultivating environment within the eternal chaotic world was the Green Fire World, and Thunderbolt Island was now ranked lower than Green Fire World. However, Green Fire World was located at a remote part of the eternal chaotic world and was self-managed. The headquarters of the Green Fire World was still located at Thunderbolt Island. There was still a large number of experts cultivating on Thunderbolt Island all year round. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Qianchen were together within the Presbytery Pavilion. Emperor Bai. This is the projected image that was sent from the East Royal Sanctuary, Ancestor Qianchen said as a large projected image appeared at the space in front of them. Within the projected image, an emperor god with an incredible aura stood in front of a teenage boy in a golden cloak. The teenage boy in the golden cloak looked very friendly and calm. One could not sense his aura. Soon, the emperor god attacked. All the moves he used were used with the intention of killing the opponent. However, the teenage boy in the golden cloak simply pointed his fingers and the attack by the emperor god was neutralized. The emperor god was also turned to dust with a look of desperation. Then, the projected image disappeared. A casual point could kill an emperor god. No ordinary great emperor can do this. His aura was also very unique, hence he shouldn't be an expert from the first era. If I am not wrong, he is another expert from the ancient past who has awakened recently, Emperor Bai said. Emperor Bai was extremely sharp in his observation. He could tell the teenage boy in the golden cloak was special with one look. Another one, Ancestor Qianchen sighed. Up till today, Sanctuary Alliance had already found 3 of such experts from the ancient past. The first was the man from Colored Glaze Sanctuary. Then, it was the Black Dragon which was from Red Dragon Sanctuary and his master. The teenage boy in the golden cloak that was seen within the projected image was obviously an expert from the ancient past. On the of this, the Sword Emperor had visited the real martial arts divine church and met 3 experts from the ancient past. This added up to a total of 6. There should be more than these 6 experts from the ancient past, and they could be located anywhere within the eternal chaotic world, Ancestor Qianchen said solemnly. That is true. However, most of these experts are very law-abiding, just like that teenage boy in the golden cloak. If I recalled correctly, Emperor God Jiyu-san provoked him first, right? Emperor Bai said. Emperor God Jiyu-san was the one who had been killed in the battle against the teenage boy in the golden cloak. Indeed. From my intel, the teenage boy in the golden cloak stayed within one of the clans in the East Royal Sanctuary and has not massacred anyone before. He asked the clan to find certain treasures and resources for him, and he would in turn reward them. Ancestor Qianchen nodded his head and said. While the clan was searching for the resources, they managed to find a stalk of blood dragon flower. The greedy emperor god Jiu-san got news of this and wanted the flower for himself. This is why that scene happened, and no wonder. Emperor Bai smiled, unsurprised. He knew that there were definitely more experts from the ancient past who had awoken other than those that they already knew of. However, most of these experts were law-abiding. Of course, this was because these experts were not dumb. After they awakened, they went on to understand what the current situation was like in this heaven and earth. They got to know of Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang. They might not have felt threatened by Jian Wushuang, but they were definitely afraid of Emperor Bai. This was why they had been so law-abiding thus far. All they did was stay within certain clans and ask the clan to search for some resources or treasures. The most they did was to cause a small ruckus in distant places. They dared not act up within the 10 sanctuaries. After all, the passageway would open at heaven's horizon 3,000 years later. They would leave this place and return to the absolute beginning divine world. There would be no need for them to risk anything at all. Only experts like old Monster Jiao who looked down on Emperor Bai would neglect all rules and do whatever they wanted to. In the end, he had suffered great losses at the hands of Emperor Bai. If these experts were law-abiding, or knew their limits, we would not interfere with their lives. However, I will not allow them to cross the line, Emperor Bai said. Yes. Ancestor Qian Chen nodded his head and said, right then. Boom. A loud explosion was heard as the entire Thunderbolt Island shook. Emperor Bai and Ancestor Qian Chen could feel that the presbytery pavilion was shaking uncontrollably. What is going on? Ancestor Qian Chen and Emperor Bai turned pale as they appeared in the air above Thunderbolt Island. Soon, they found the source of the tremor. Bastards! They are attacking the formation protecting Thunderbolt Island. Emperor Bai's face turned dark as he looked out of the formation. There, more than 20 experts stood together as they attacked the formation with powerful attacks. The power of the weakest attack was equivalent to an attack by a Stage 3 Great Emperor. The strongest attack was equivalent to that of a peak Stage 3 Great Emperor. Emperor Bai also saw old Monster Jiao standing among the experts. It's him. Damn it. Emperor Bai turned pale. He had killed the Black Dragon within the Red Dragon Sanctuary and old Monster Jiao had escaped. Old Monster Jiao was filled with hatred, and he swore that he would take revenge when he left. After seeing old Monster Jiao and the other experts, Emperor Bai understood that this was revenge promised by old Monster Jiao. It came so quickly, and they came straight for Thunderbolt Island. The loud explosions created when the powerful attacks hit the formation could be heard continuously. Luckily, the formation on Thunderbolt Island was made by the entire Sanctuary Alliance at a great cost. These experts could not break through within a short amount of time. Quick, inform the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance to return to Thunderbolt Island immediately. Emperor Bai ordered. 2245 Leave them to me. No matter where the great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance were when they received the message from Emperor Bai, even those venturing within the ancient battlefield, they rushed to Thunderbolt Island with the help of wormholes. Jian Wushuang, who was within the green fire world, also rushed down. By the time Jian Wushuang reached Thunderbolt Island, most of the great emperors were already there. Sword Emperor! Sword Emperor! The great emperors greeted Jian Wushuang with great respect. Emperor Bai, what is happening? Jian Wushuang appeared beside Emperor Bai and asked. Look, Emperor Bai said as he pointed at the space in front of him. Jian Wushuang looked over and saw the 20 experts from the ancient past standing outside the formation. These experts stopped attacking the formation, and those who excelled in formation started studying the formation. Jian Wushuang saw old Monster Jiao. It's him. He is here for revenge? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and muttered. Yes, this is his revenge. He got the courage to come and attack Thunderbolt Island directly. He probably wants to destroy the headquarters of Sanctuary Alliance, or even destroy the Alliance, Emperor Bai. That's all? He probably wants to kill you to take revenge for his ride, Jian Wushuang said. Of course. Sadly, he is not powerful enough, Emperor Bai said coldly and confidently. In this world, he was unbeatable. Based on power level alone, there might have been people such as Emperor 13 who could beat him in a fight. However, It was near impossible for these people to kill him even though they were much more powerful than him. A person in the ultimate phase of the seventh step inverse cultivation possessed the perfect chaotic holy body. It was completely overpowered in this world. Even if he cannot kill Emperor Bai, destroying Sanctuary Alliance and killing the most powerful experts here is more than enough to extinguish his rage, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. I guess that's what he thinks as well, Emperor Bai said. Emperor Bai. Sword Emperor. A voice was heard. It belonged to the great Emperor Colored Glaze. I met that man recently. I suspected that he was an expert from the ancient past. He is very powerful. I lost my courage to fight him when he looked at me, the great Emperor Colored Glaze said in fear as he pointed at one of the experts from the ancient past. Emperor Bai and Jian Wushuang looked over in the direction that great Emperor Colored Glaze was pointing and noticed the man in purple hair and clothes who stood beside old monster Jiao. This man should have incredible fighting power, Jian Wushuang said seriously. As his fighting power became stronger, Jian Wushuang's ability to sense danger increased as well. He could sense that the two most powerful men within the group of experts from the ancient past were the man in purple hair and clothes and old monster Jiao. These people are experts from the ancient past. From the power of their attacks on the formation, every one of them has the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor, some peak Stage 3 Great Emperor. There are a few that have yet to attack. Old monster Jiao and this man with purple hair have fought old monster Jiao before. His fighting power is higher than that of any Stage 3 Great Emperor and has barely reached the level of a Stage 4 Great Emperor. The man with purple hair should not have been weaker than old monster Jiao, and both of them should be in half-step divine demon realm. This man is really incredible. He can persuade 20 experts from the ancient past to help him in such a short period of time. Jian Wushuang thought to himself, surprised. Up to date, Sanctuary Alliance encountered minimal numbers of experts from the ancient past. Yet, old monster Jiao had managed to contact and convince more than 20 of such experts to help him take revenge. Of course, he was incredible. This is troublesome. There are two men with the fighting power of a half-step divine demon and 20 experts with fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. Sanctuary Alliance cannot stop them. Abysmal Saint Master said in a low voice. Cannot stop them? When the Great Emperors heard this phrase, they fell silent. Indeed, the opponent lineup was far too terrifying. These experts could not start a massacre due to the presence of the formation stopping them in their tracks. Once the formation broke, there was nothing else stopping them and there was no way the Great Emperors from Sanctuary Alliance could stop them. The difference was far too great. Among the Great Emperors, only Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, and his servant, Jian Yi, had the fighting power to stop these enemies. No one else had the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. How to bridge this huge gap in fighting power? Sword Emperor, can you ask Emperor 13 to help us? Ancestor Chen Chen asked. Emperor 13? Jian Wushuang was stunned before shaking his head as he continued. I have Emperor 13's transmission token and he might help us if I asked him to. However, he is from the ancient past and not from our era. If we ask him for help whenever Sanctuary Alliance encounters danger, then who are we within this alliance? If we can't even handle these experts from the ancient past, how can we call ourselves the masters of this era? The Great Emperors nodded their heads when they heard what Jian Wushuang had said. Indeed, Emperor 13 was from the ancient past and had from this era. How could they expect Emperor 13 to always help them in times of need? I have already commanded the experts on Thunderbolt Island to leave. We are the only people left on this island. If all else fails, we can only escape and abandon Thunderbolt Island and the resources here. Emperor Bai frowned and said we cannot back down. Jian Wushuang shook his head firmly. There are more experts from the ancient past that have awakened. Most of them are hidden around the eternal chaotic world. They fear us because there is peace within this world. If 20 experts from the ancient past are enough to force us to abandon the headquarters of Sanctuary Alliance and escape, these experts will lose the fear and will dare to do things without any limits. These experts are incredibly powerful and many of them are extremely evil. If they no longer fear us, it will spell disaster for the eternal chaotic world. Hence, we cannot afford to retreat. Instead, we should defeat them quickly and swiftly. The best case is if we can kill at least half of these experts. Kill at least half of these experts? The great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance looked over at Jian Wushuang in shock. They felt that there was no way they could defeat the opponent and they should retreat. However, Jian Wushuang wanted to kill at least half of the experts from the ancient past. These experts from the ancient past are not as terrifying as you think. From my perspective, we have nothing to fear. Emperor Bai, the other great emperors will not interfere in this battle. The two of us have no problem in defeating them. The two most powerful experts they have are the Master of the Black Dragon and the man with purple hair and in purple clothes. With your fighting power, you'll have no problem keeping them occupied whilst also having the upper hand, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Yes, I can, Emperor Bai nodded his head. He fought the Master of the Black Dragon before and knew how powerful he was. If he used his full power, he could fight two old monster Jiao alone and still have the absolute advantage. That will be enough. You deal with the strongest two while I will deal with the remaining 20 experts who each have the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor, Jian Wushuang said. Chapter 2246 Threaten I will settle the remaining experts who are at the power level of a Stage 3 Great Emperor, Jian Wushuang said casually. The great emperors including Emperor Bai looked over at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. There were 20 experts from the ancient past. Jian Wushuang could deal with them all alone? Jian Wushuang, are you sure? Emperor Bai asked. He knew that Jian Wushuang broke through and reached the ultimate phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation and his fighting power was much higher as compared to before. He also knew that Jian Wushuang could beat 3 experts from the ancient past alone. He had killed 2 and Soul controlled one of them. However, there were far more experts from the ancient past now compared to before. No worries, I know my limits, Jian Wushuang smiled confidently. 20 experts from the ancient past was indeed a terrifying lineup. Jian Wushuang would undoubtedly retreat if any of them currently possessed the fighting power they had in their prime. However, these 20 experts from the ancient past only had the fighting power of a Stage 3 Great Emperor. Even though a Stage 3 Emperor was very powerful, they were nothing compared to Jian Wushuang. So what if there were more than 20 experts with this fighting power? I don't even need to use my full strength to defeat the 3 experts from the ancient past I met in the real martial arts divine church. But now, I can use these experts to gauge how powerful I really am, Jian Wushuang thought excitedly. Let's go, Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang said as he started to walk out of Thunderbolt Island alongside Emperor Bai. Old Monster Jiao, Chen Qi, and more than 20 experts from the ancient past were still stuck outside Thunderbolt Island by the protective formation. Their attacks could not forcefully destroy the formation. Hence, they stopped and started studying it. There were experts from the ancient past who studied formations. These experts were currently studying the protective formation. How is the progress? Old Monster Jiao asked coldly as he stared at the formation. My lord, Sir Xianmeng is the best person for this job. He said that he has a rough idea of how the formation works and he needs around 15 minutes to break this formation, Chu said respectfully. 15 minutes? Old Monster Jiao fell silent. 15 minutes is far too long. By the time we break the formation, the experts from Sanctuary Alliance should have already escaped using the wormholes on the island, Chen Qi said. Humph. So what? After I destroy Thunderbolt Island, I will then head to the 10 sanctuaries and kill everyone there. Let's see if Emperor Bai and the other experts from Sanctuary Alliance continue to hide from me, Old Monster Jiao said with great killing intent. Hearing this, Chen Qi raised his eyebrows and many of the doubts he had were answered. It was evident that they had underestimated Sanctuary Alliance. While they were waiting for Xianmeng to find a way and break the formation, 2 figures walked out from within Thunderbolt Island. These 2 figures were Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. They stood opposite the group of experts from the ancient past. These experts looked over at the 2 men Emperor Bai. Old Monster Jiao vision turned cold as a strong killing intent radiated from him. The other experts from the ancient past also fixed their gazes on the 2 men trying to size them up. Is that Emperor Bai? Apparently, he is the strongest man in this era and is extremely powerful. I have seen the projected image of the fight between him and Blood Emperor. He is really powerful. He would be nothing if there were no restrictions of heaven and earth. However, none of us could beat him while we are all under the restrictions. The experts from the ancient past started to chatter discreetly as they focused their attention on Emperor Bai. They completely ignored Jian Wushuang. They recognized Jian Wushuang, but they thought he was nothing as compared to Emperor Bai. From the intel they had, Jian Wushuang was someone who had special techniques, but his fighting power was only that of an ordinary Stage 3 Great Emperor. They feared Emperor Bai, but they could not be bothered by Jian Wushuang. Ha ha! I thought you had escaped, Emperor Bai. I never thought that you would stay and show yourself in front of me. Old Monster Jiao stared intently at Emperor Bai as though he wanted to skin Emperor Bai alive. We do not need to retreat if you are our threat, Emperor Bai said coldly. Is that the case? Now that I have gathered another 20 experts from the ancient past, is this enough? Old Monster Jiao asked coldly. Emperor Bai, I know that you are unbeatable in this world. Even if I cannot kill you, I can destroy Sanctuary Alliance and kill everyone around you. I said before, I will take my revenge for my ride. You are too noisy, Emperor Bai said coldly. He then turned to the other experts from the ancient past and said, Experts from the ancient past, the Sanctuary Alliance did not provoke you at all, yet all of you are crossing the line and doing this to us? Ha ha. That is true. However, Old Monster Jiao requested that we do this. We must see to it till the end. Hence, I can only say that I am sorry, Sir Emperor Bai. Yes. The rewards Lord Jiao is giving is too good to refuse. Sorry that the Sanctuary Alliance needs to go through this. These divine demon experts from the ancient past mocked. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He had managed to sieve out important information. These experts were not subordinates of Old Monster Jiao. They only did what they were doing because Old Monster Jiao had given them something they wanted. This would make things a lot easier. Everyone. I suggest that you leave immediately and the Sanctuary Alliance would pretend nothing has happened and we will not treat all of you like enemies. If not, Emperor Bai said coldly. If now? What a joke. You are going to die and yet you're still threatening us? Dumbass. You are just an ant in the chaotic realm in this era. Do you really think you are powerful enough to stand up to us? The experts from the ancient past were enraged. Even though they feared Emperor Bai, they looked down on him. No matter how powerful Emperor Bai was, he was only an expert in the chaotic realm. The only reason he could threaten them was because of the restrictions of heaven and earth. 2247 Underestimate. They feared Emperor Bai due to the presence of the restrictions of heaven and earth which stopped them from using their true powers. Without the restrictions, they wouldn't have even been bothered by an expert in the chaotic realm like Emperor Bai. And now Emperor Bai was threatening them? What a joke. Emperor Bai. I don't think we can talk this through. Let's settle this with our fists. Jian Wushuang looked over at Emperor Bai and said. Yes, Emperor Bai nodded his head and replied. Hence, the battle was unavoidable. Just like we planned, you will take the strongest 2 men, Jian Wushuang said. I will have no problems. You are the important one in this battle. Watch out for them, Emperor Bai said. Don't worry, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said. Emperor Bai stopped wasting time as he radiated a terrifying aura. Boom! A 990,000-foot-tall golden figure appeared behind him as a sea of golden divine power ocean swept out in all directions. You are Old Monster Jiao? If you want to take revenge for your ride, come at me, Emperor Bai's voice thundered. Chen Qi, help me kill him. As for the rest of you, continue to break that formation. After we destroy the formation, kill everyone on Thunderbolt Island. Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi then flew towards Emperor Bai. Both of them were experts above the divine demon realm. Even with the restrictions of heaven and earth, the fighting power they had was that of an expert in the half-step divine demon realm. They worked together and were not afraid of Emperor Bai. Before long, their fight began. Terrifying waves of aura and power could be felt from the battle. The experts from the ancient past in the divine demon realm were amazed when they felt the power of the battle. Emperor Bai is really powerful. Under the restrictions of heaven and earth, we in the divine demon realm can barely use the power of peak chaotic realm. Experts like Lord Jiao and Lord Chen Qi are both experts above the divine demon realm, yet they can only use power up to half-step divine demon realm. However, Emperor Bai has the fighting power of an ordinary expert in the divine demon realm. None of us can beat him alone. However, he cannot do anything while Lord Jiao and Lord Chen Qi keep him busy. We have sufficient time to destroy Sanctuary Alliance. These experts in the divine demon realm chatted casually. The other experts in the divine demon realm would follow Chu his orders as he was the subordinate of old monster Jiao. He commanded, Xian Meng, continue to look for a way to destroy the formation. As for the rest of you, prepare for battle. Oh yes, there is one more man. Chu He looked over at the space in front of him. A lone figure stood there. That man was Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang held a long sword and he walked slowly towards these experts in the divine demon realm. He walked slowly with a cold expression. He was not radiating any aura or sword essence at all. The 20 experts from the ancient past were confused. This brat is the Sword Emperor? That should be the case. Apparently, he is known as the most talented man in this era. He cultivated for tens of thousands of years and was already one of the most powerful men in this era. Tens of thousands of years? Just to reach where he is? This is also considered talent? Bullshit. He has not been to our hometown, absolute beginning divine world. He is not even a tier 3 genius back there. These experts in the divine demon realm chatted casually. None of them took Jian Wushuang seriously. In this era, they only took Emperor Bai from the Sanctuary Alliance seriously. Even though Jian Wushuang was very popular within the eternal chaotic world, they could not be bothered with him. From the looks of it, this brat wants to fight us? He has courage. He is not retreating even though he is facing 20 experts in the divine demon realm alone. Who will kill him? I don't like him. Jian Wushuang continued walking towards them, yet the experts in the divine demon realm were not vigilant at all. Sword Emperor. Even though the Sword Emperor is not very powerful, he has incredible techniques. Most importantly, he is close to Emperor 13. Hence, we cannot kill him. All we need to do is to keep him occupied. Chu He knitted his eyebrows and said, Zishi, you're up. Chu Hu looked at a devilish teenager standing beside him and said, What? Why me? The devilish teenager started complaining, displeased. His fighting power was average amongst the experts in the divine demon realm present. Even though his current fighting power under the restrictions of heaven and earth was not that of a peak stage 3 great emperor, it was still more powerful than an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. He could even kill the Sword Emperor. It was a pity that the Sword Emperor had a special identity and the devilish teenager could not kill him. All he could do was to keep him occupied. This meant that the devilish teenager had to hold back. Of course he was unwilling to go and deal with Jian Wushuang. No one there was willing to fight Jian Wushuang. Stop complaining. Go. Remember, keep him occupied and don't let him disturb us, Chu He said sternly. Even though the devilish teenager was unhappy, he could not say no as he went up and stopped Jian Wushuang in his tracks. Brat, even though I am not allowed to kill you, I can still teach you a lesson. Hence, just keep still where you are. You will experience less pain this way. The devilish teenager folded his arms and looked at Jian Wushuang with disdain. Jian Wushuang finally looked up. What? You aren't going to fight me? Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Humph, I can't be bothered with someone like you, the devilish teenager grunted coldly. Is that the case? If you are not going to attack, I will. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows before smiling creepily and saying. He attacked once he finished his sentence. He was already in close proximity with the devilish teenager. He appeared in front of the teenager in just one step. He swung his Blood Mountain sword lazily. This swing looked like it had no power at all, as though it had been a child who had swung it. The sword sliced through the air peacefully and slowly. Chapter 2248 Attack. When Jian Wushuang attacked, the devilish teenager was angered. The devilish teenager did not want to fight Jian Wushuang as he could derive no sense of satisfaction at all. After all, he was not allowed to kill Jian Wushuang. If Jian Wushuang stood there, the devilish teenager would not be willing to do anything at all. He never thought that Jian Wushuang would initiate an attack. He roared as divine power surged in the devilish teenager's right hand. He then slapped towards the sword light made by Jian Wushuang. He thought that he could destroy the sword light and teach Jian Wushuang a lesson even though he did not use his full power. In reality, Phut. When the seemingly feeble sword collided with his palm, the blade sliced through his hand and his palm was sliced off. What? The devilish teenager's eyes widened in surprise. He realized something was wrong. The sword did not stop after slicing his hand off. It was headed for his head. Even though the sword seemed to travel slowly, it was too fast for the devilish teenager. It was so fast that he could not do anything to protect himself. Phut. His head was sliced off. The experts in the divine demon realm who were watching the battle were stunned. How can this be? One sword. He killed Zixi with a single stroke? The Sword Emperor. The experts in the divine demon realm raised their heads and looked at Jian Wushuang in awe. The fighting power of the devilish teenager was considered average within the whole group, but even old monster Jiao and Chen Qi could not have killed him with a single stroke. The Sword Emperor could not be an ordinary stage 3 great emperor. They did not know that Jian Wushuang was far stronger than before. There had been a gigantic leap in his fighting power. Jian Wushuang had never used his full power after he became much stronger. During the battle at the Real Martial Arts Divine Church, he had only used a portion of his full fighting power. However, his true fighting power had not been made known to the rest of the experts from the ancient past, as 2 out of the 3 experts from the ancient past had died in that battle, and the last expert was sole controlled by Jian Wushuang. They thought that Jian Wushuang's fighting power had not changed much since the Great War against the 3 Emperors world around 20,000 years ago. What they didn't know was Jian Wushuang's fighting power had reached another level. Now, Jian Wushuang had finally used his full power. I did advise all of you to leave. None of you did. Since all of you do not want to leave, then stay, forever. Jian Wushuang said coldly, his voice boiled with killing intent as it reverberated throughout the battlefield. He attacked once he finished his sentence. Watch out. So fast. This is space-time rules of order. The experts in Divine Demon Realm became cautious. Whoosh. His figure flashed as Jian Wushuang reappeared. An expert in the Divine Demon Realm stood in that space. It was Divine Demon Xian Meng who was trying to find a way to break the formation. Oh no! When Jian Wushuang appeared, Meng Xian's face turned pale. He was about to turn around. Right when he was about to turn, a cold sword light appeared. This sword light was creepy and erratic. It appeared beside Xian Meng's neck without any signs at all. Sword Principal Xian Luo. Turn monstrous at one thought. Phut. The sword light passed and crimson red replaced it. Divine Demon Meng Xian died. He could not even put up a fight. Hiss. The remaining experts in the Divine Demon Realm all took a sharp breath. It was too fast. Jian Wushuang was extremely fast, and his sword skill was even faster. In the blink of an eye, 2 experts in the Divine Demon Realm had died at his hand. Work together and kill him, Chu he ordered. The 5 closest experts in the Divine Demon Realm attacked Jian Wushuang immediately. Jian Wushuang glanced at the 5 experts in the Divine Demon Realm as he swung his sword. This swing brought about a violent storm. The entire heaven and earth started shaking as it threatened to collapse. The 5 experts in Divine Demon Realm were like a small boat within a storm starting to be shaken violently. Boom! The battlefield shook as the 5 experts in the Divine Demon Realm flew back like a cannonball. A single swing forced back 5 experts in the Divine Demon Realm. Then, Jian Wushuang's figure blurred. Under the influence of the space-time rules of order, he was like a ghost. The experts in the Divine Demon Realm found it difficult to track Jian Wushuang even when they used their soul power to do so. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang appeared in front of a well-built man. This well-built man was one of the strongest men among the experts in the Divine Demon Realm, as he had the fighting power of a top-tier stage 3 great emperor even though he was under the restrictions of heaven and earth. When Jian Wushuang appeared and slashed his sword at the man's throat, the well-built man was not afraid as he drew his battle axe. Right when he was about to use battle axe skills to force Jian Wushuang back, an attack appeared in his sea of consciousness. Soul attack, 3 divine lights, golden light scripture. Hum. The sea of consciousness of the well-built man was slammed hard as the man stood there, completely stunned. The sword light from Jian Wushuang was not affected as it sliced through the well-built man's throat. His dead body then dropped towards the ground below. What? Xianxia. Divine demon Xianxia could not stop his sword? It is a soul attack. Beware of his soul attack. Angry shouts were heard as these experts in the divine demon realm finally took Jian Wushuang seriously by using their full fighting power. It was evident they had underestimated Jian Wushuang. To be precise, they had underestimated his sword skills and the power of his soul attack. Jian Wushuang dashed around in the battlefield in an eerie manner. The Blood Mountain sword he was holding was like a poisonous snake. This poisonous snake bit forward, slashed around in a weird manner or turning into a dark vortex that swallowed everything there was. Jian Wushuang used whatever sword skills he had learnt within the Sword Doctrine Trial Tower on these experts. The sword skills he used were the most ordinary ones. Every single skill he used seemed arbitrary, even sword principal Shen Luo. He cast it effortlessly and smoothly. It was as though it was perfect. It was polished and refined. The experts in the divine demon realm tried their best. However, the longer the battle went on, the more they realized how terrifying Jian Wushuang's sword skills were. They were incredibly fast and he could both attack and defend. It was difficult for them to find a weakness. Most importantly, his sword skills were far too sophisticated. Chapter 2249 Massacre. Back then, Jian Wushuang's understanding of the sword doctrine had been mediocre and straightforward. The sword skills he had cast were extremely simple. After he cultivated within the Sword Doctrine Trial Tower for 1,000 years, his understanding of sword skills was completely different. There was more to sword skills than the techniques. The techniques were fixed and couldn't be changed. However, a human could be flexible. Those who knew how to use a sword could make a simple slash or jab even more precise and deadly compared to those ordinary experts who cast incredible sword skills. Those who did not know how to use a sword would have numerous weaknesses even if they had incredible sword skills. They might not even be able to beat someone who used simple sword skills. Jian Wushuang, who had cultivated within the Sword Doctrine Trail Tower, had been that way initially. But now, he was the opposite. In the space, Jian Wushuang stopped holding back as he used all the sword skills he had. His casual slash, flick, cut, thrust. Each move was used perfectly and smoothly. This was proof he had finally made the cut to be considered an expert in the sword doctrine. This was the difference between initial success in sword doctrine compared to an amateur. With the help of his sword skills, Jian Wushuang could fend off the attacks from more than 20 experts in the divine demon realm easily. He could even counterattack frequently while fending off the attacks targeted at him. He thrust out his sword. Before the sword skill reached the target, a terrifying soul attack would reach it first. Jian Wushuang's soul attack had become even more powerful during the 24,000 years he was in slumber, as his soul power had experienced a great increase during this time. Now, a top-tier Stage 3 Great Emperor would not be able to handle his soul attack when he cast it together with the Soul-Swallowing Pearl and the 3 Divine Lights secret skill. Even experts in the Divine Demon Realm would experience a short blank in their consciousness when Jian Wushuang's soul attacks land on them. This short blank was enough for Jian Wushuang to cast his sword skills without giving his opponents a chance to defend themselves from the attacks. Fifth, Jian Wushuang's sword light flickered again as another head was detached from its body. Within moments, another sword light, which looked like fresh blood, penetrated the head of another expert in the divine demon realm. This expert died with both of his eyes wide open, unable to believe how he had died at the hands of Jian Wushuang. The sixth, Jian Wushuang continued the massacre with a cold attitude. A blurry light shrouded 2 other experts in the divine demon realm. Both of these experts only had ordinary fighting powers, hence both experienced a short blank in their consciousness even though Jian Wushuang had targeted both of them with a single soul attack. Fut! Fut! The blade entered their bodies and the dead bodies fell towards the ground below. The eighth, Jian Wushuang said casually. The 20 experts in the divine demon realm initially had not taken Jian Wushuang seriously at all, as they had thought he was not a threat. They had severely underestimated Jian Wushuang. Once the battle began, Jian Wushuang's fighting power made the shiver in fear. Too fast. His speed is too fast and we cannot catch up to him. He is not only enlightened to the space-time rules of order, he also excels in using this power. His sword skills are very terrifying. He must have made the cut to become an amateur in sword doctrine. Amateur. What a joke. He must have reached initial success. Furthermore, his soul attack is far too powerful. We cannot stop it. Terrifying shrieks were heard across the battlefield. These experts in the divine demon realm were completely shocked by Jian Wushuang's fighting power. His understanding and his use of space-time rules of order to reach incredible speed was amazing. His sophisticated sword skills were at the level of initial success in the sword doctrine. There was also the horrifying and unstoppable soul attack. The combination of these three made Jian Wushuang their worst nightmare. Massacre. Ever since the battle started, it had been a one-sided massacre. Even though there were more than 20 experts in the divine demon realm, they didn't work together, hence they were not a threat to Jian Wushuang at all. Jian Wushuang could continue the massacre without worrying. No one could stop his soul attack. No one could be compared to his sword skills. Initial success stage in sword doctrine. Far too few experts in the divine demon realm could reach this stage even back in the absolute beginning divine world. Even if someone did, their fighting power would be restricted as they would be under the restrictions of heaven and earth. However, Jian Wushuang was completely unaffected by the restrictions of heaven and earth. He could use every single scrap of his fighting power to the fullest. Within moments, 11 out of the 20 experts in the divine demon realm had been killed by Jian Wushuang. That was about half of the total number. Too terrifying. The Sword Emperor is too terrifying. Who said we only needed to beware of Emperor Bai? What is going on with the Sword Emperor? Emperor Bai? He is definitely not as terrifying as the Sword Emperor. We were tricked. We were all tricked. The strongest man within the Sanctuary Alliance is not Emperor Bai, but the Sword Emperor. Run. Hurry up. Escape. Hysterical roars from these experts were here on the battlefield. The remaining 10 experts in the divine demon realm were trembling in fear. They lost the courage to battle Jian Wushuang as they started to run away. Within moments, in under 2 breaths, about half of the experts there had been killed. If Jian Wushuang were to kill the remaining experts, he would do so within the time of a single breath. There was no way they could beat Jian Wushuang. If they continued to fight, they would definitely die. They knew this well, hence, the experts all started to run away. As for Lord Jiao, even though the reward of a divine demon nirvana elixir was of very high value, it could only entice these experts to fight, not risk their lives. If they stayed and fought, they would definitely die. No one would die for Lord Jiao. Even Lord Jiao's subordinate, Chu He, escaped without hesitation. Within moments, 11 of the experts had died while the remaining escaped out of sight. Jian Wushuang stood there coldly even after killing 11 experts in the divine demon realm. It was as though he was killing 11 insignificant people. 2250 stay, that's all the experts from the ancient past have? Jian Wushuang muttered to himself with an indifferent expression. These experts from the ancient past had had incredible fighting power back in their prime. Jian Wushuang would think that they were weak because they were under the restrictions of heaven and earth. He could massacre them alone using only his blade. After settling these divine demons, what is next is... Jian Wushuang shifted his gaze as he looked at a battlefield not too far away. There, Emperor Bai was battling it out with Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi furiously. Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi gave it their all by using the fighting power of a half-step divine demon realm expert, yet they could barely match Emperor Bai. Both of them were at a disadvantage even though they were fighting Emperor Bai with an advantage in terms of numbers. They had thought that if Emperor Bai was preoccupied, the remaining experts in the divine demon realm should be able to sweep Sanctuary Alliance without any problems. But then, whoosh! A figure appeared on this battlefield. Old Monster Jiao and Chen Qi stopped the fight and looked up. They fixed their gazes on Jian Wushuang and they had a dark look on their faces. While both of them were battling with Emperor Bai, they had taken note of what was happening on the other battlefield. They had seen how Jian Wushuang had massacred more than half of those experts in divine demons within moments, and how he had forced the survivors to flee in terror. This brat! I thought you said that only Emperor Bai was the only powerful man from this era? Old Monster Jiao said as he fixed his gaze on Jian Wushuang. Who knows? From the fighting power he just displayed, He might be even more powerful than Emperor Bai, Xianxia exclaimed, surprised. He had gone in depth to research about the experts in this era. He knew much about Jian Wushuang. He knew that Jian Wushuang only had the fighting power of an ordinary Stage 3 Great Emperor. However, the fighting power Jian Wushuang had was far greater than he had imagination. Not bad, Jian Wushuang. Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang as he spoke with glee in his eyes. Jian Wushuang had given him a big surprise. He knew that Jian Wushuang had broken through in terms of his realm and reached the ultimate phase of the 7th step inverse cultivation. He had guessed that Jian Wushuang's fighting power must have skyrocketed. He had never thought that his improvement had been so extreme. He was enlightened to the space-time rules of order, possessed such powerful soul attacks and, most importantly, had that level of sword skills. That sword skill was too stunning. Emperor Bai, what is their fighting power? Jian Wushuang asked indifferently. They are very powerful. Even though I was at a slight advantage when I battled them both, there was nothing I could do with that advantage. Now that you are here, things will be different. Let's work together and kill them both, Emperor Bai said. Okay, Jian Wushuang nodded his head as killing intent started to grow in his eyes. This is troublesome. Sir Jiao, the fighting power of the Sword Emperor is far greater than what we thought. Now that the experts in the Divine Demon Realm are defeated, there is no way both of us can win against them when we can't even win against Emperor Bai. We should leave and think of other ways to take revenge. Xianxia had a gloomy expression as he spoke to Old Monster Jiao. Old Monster Jiao squinted his eyes. He was extremely unwilling to back off just like that. Emperor Bai had killed his ride, Scaly, who had been like a brother to him. He had sworn he would take revenge. He had never thought that he could not do so even after paying a hefty price to gather so many experts from the ancient past in the Divine Demon Realm. How could he be willing to back off just like this? However, no matter how unwilling he was, he knew how bad the current situation was. It would be a joke for him to face Emperor Bai and Sword Emperor together with Xianxia. Let's go then. Old Monster Jiao signaled to Xianxia secretly. Then, whoosh, whoosh. Both of them dashed back without hesitation. You want to escape? Emperor Bai's eyes turned cold. It would be far too easy if you could come and go as you like, Jian Wushuang said coldly. The moment they finished speaking, a surging wave of divine power swept out from Emperor Bai. Punisher's hell. Boom! The 99,000-foot-tall golden figure shuddered as the heaven and earth threatened to collapse. Almost instantly, an ocean of golden divine power formed a wave tens of thousands of feet tall. The wave filled the entire battlefield as it crashed towards Old Monster Jiao and Xianxia. The terrifying power that even Stage 3 Great Emperor would have feared burst forth from that golden wave. Old Monster Jiao and Xianxia's faces turned pale. They could feel the rippling power of that wave. There was an incredible pressure from the wave that slowed their escape. At the same time Emperor Bai attacked, divine power and the ancient god bloodline power surged on Jian Wushuang. Ancient god secret skills, moon picking skill. It was as though heaven and earth froze for a moment. The space-time was completely sealed off. A giant, warm palm appeared from thin air. It was as though it belonged to a mother as it picked towards the space where the space-time was sealed off. Bastard! Old Monster Jiao went into a rage when he felt that the space-time around him had been sealed off. His body enlarged into a 10-foot-tall giant as a black shadow hovered behind him. Within moments, he turned into a terrifying black god. The black god roared in anger as both of his arms swung about in a frenzy, smashing the space-time around him. The space-time started to break open layers at a time. As for Xianxia, he too used an incredible technique. These two have mastered incredible techniques, unlike those I killed a few moments ago, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. A glint of emotion flashed across his eyes as Jian Wushuang said to Emperor Bai, Emperor Bai, we might not be able to kill them both here. Hence, both of us should use all our power to focus on killing one of them. Okay, Emperor Bai nodded his head. Both of them came to a consensus instantly. Both the golden wave and the moon picking skill started to contract and head towards Old Monster Jiao. The two great emperors ignored Xianxia. They knew that Old Monster Jiao was the mastermind behind this attack as he wanted to take revenge for his ride. As for Xianxia, He was just an expert that old monster Jiao had hired to help him take revenge. Hence, they would not allow old monster Jiao to escape no matter what. They would use their full power to kill him.